Let's start with the side of one shot, but there's a little caveat when we saw those stats pop up. That plus 15 round differential, they got a bit of a freebie yesterday with a few 7 round differential.
Yeah, so they got a forfeit victory. Let's just say the heist turned into the hostage, and therefore they cannot play. So One Shot got a good 7 points out of it. That doesn't mean that they haven't been playing well since week one.
No.
Part of the reason they're playing so doggone well, Swalen, like we talked about earlier, top-rated player in the league. He's looking like the guy that's going to be the number 1 overall draft pick on stage 2 for somebody in the North American League if he keeps this up. That's just a hot take from me. And of course, you have NVK, the legend from Continuum, from Evil Geniuses, from Xset. That's right. I think NVK bounces back on this one-shot team. He had a tough go at it on Xset, but that doesn't define him, and that's why he's a champion in my eyes and in my heart. And of course, you've got Slippery, the dad, Subarctic, the robot,
and Kilo.
I forgot Kilo.
All these guys definitely could get looks with the way that they're playing, and if they keep it up, they are second overall right now and only a sliver, just 1 point behind the team on the other side, Connor, Elyssar.
Yeah, Elyssar, they've been looking really good, only making a mistake yesterday, and you could argue that they would have won that game in overtime if young Alex's internet decided to not go kaput. But overall, Kento, the big performer for this team, did have a little bit more of a quiet day than we have kind of come to expect from him. Whether it was the Finca LMG ban from Game & Gladiators, or just an overall off day from young Tyler Clorox Kento last name. That's kind of more to be discovered. As well as with Gideon Enrio, a lot of experience, some well-seasoned and veteran-level players in Challenger League, as well as Vivid, who kind of had a rare Vivid miss yesterday against Gaiman, which hopefully will not be replicated today.
Okay, Cookies, you're talking to the audience directly right now. Other than Swalen pop off, what do they need to know about One Shot going up against Elyssar?
Can NVK pop off? And the answer is, you guys, you want to know, in the Austrian game against Card & Company, the same Card & Company that beat Oculix, which beat you know what I'm trying to say. NVK, I don't like using the transitive property anymore. NVK dropped a nice game against Card & Company. He went perfect on the entry and dominated. Can he do that against Kento, though, who's been playing out of his mind, especially when it came to those early fights? Kento's just swinging around, looking onto people. Will NVK get slammed? Will he get his ankle snapped? Can his knees hold up against a young, athletic Kento in this matchup over the course of 12 rounds? That's the question I want to answer today.
He's not 37 years old on the verge of his athletic career ending, okay?
He's getting close.
He's getting there.
But what's nice about One Shot is that they also have young Swalen. He can always pick up any of the slack if MDK misses a round or two and isn't necessarily shooting or gets caught out with some interesting play. You still have Swalen, and that's always nice to have. And overall, with One Shot, like you alluded to earlier, CJ, ever since that week 1 hiccup against Nocturnes where Slothy dropped a tactical nuke on him on Theme Park and they lost 7-5, they've been pretty much flawless. In all their off-stream games, they're winning and closing out pretty heavily. It's 7-3, 7-2, 7-1s, stuff like that, not really even keeping it close and looking like the strong team that we know them to be.
Now, Elyssar, this team, on the other hand, they are one of the few teams, I believe Card & Co. might be the only other team that has managed to pick up a point in every single game they've played. This team is looking mighty impressive.
Yes, but their mental toughness is going to be challenged this week. I was saying it and just singing yesterday that they have the hardest schedule possible on this weekend. 3 games, and they're on step number 2 against another one of the top teams. Then they play Aerial Arise later on today. So, it's time to really grind down and not let any of your mistakes from yesterday linger over, because players like Enrio and Vivid, they didn't necessarily have the good games that this team wants. On Elyssar, there's quotes from Kento in interviews that anybody can pop off at any moment. There's clutch factor. Everybody can frag. Everybody can do their role perfectly. And when you have multiple players not performing at the level that you know them to be, it gets really difficult.
Yep, especially in Rio. We're talking about the guy at the end of stage 3. Part of the reason I was so high on Investigation File, even through 2021 and into this year, they were my preseason candidates, right? A lot of that was because of Enrio. He's playing really well in the playoffs of Stage 3, especially. Him and Giddy just absolutely willed that team to victory through sheer determination and they were just draining buckets. Sorry, I haven't watched too much basketball over the past couple days. But you know what I'm trying to say. That Inrio was part of the equation. Yeah, they have Kento now. Yeah, they have Alec. But Inrio's still locking Zof and stuff. So do something, Inrio. Don't just sit back there and watch and type in chat. Alec, that's nasty. There was one game he's literally just typing in chat like, you're nasty, bro. While he's just dying, not doing nothing. Inrio, perform.
Well,
He needs you.
we know how good Inrio can be. Can you imagine if he starts playing to his 100% potential? Elyssar might just be an untouchable team. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Cookies. I think the perfect map here to go to would be Oregon. Am I right?
No, Connor. I actually want you to talk about the map bans for once. I feel like I've been talking about them for the past 362 days.
But you know,
It's true.
I just love how well you do them. They're so amazing.
It's so much harder now at 9 maps. I don't want to do it anymore. I quit.
Yep, the Oregon that poor Brimstone really, really, really wanted to see. It's
Oh,
going to get
so
removed
bad.
early
So
by
bad.
one shot. We haven't necessarily seen them on Oregon or have an affinity towards that map in recent memory. And we know LSR are pretty dang good on it. We'll probably as well see a Chalet ban from LSR eventually, but more of the new maps fall, like Border as well as Skyscraper early on, because these teams, they do know each other and they can kind of apply that past knowledge to see how playstyles lend to different maps of, hey, one shot, they can be pretty frag heavy at times. They've got talent. So let's remove the Skyscraper. As well as for Border, LSR, they know how to play their defaults and they can use utility very well. So a map like Border that's a little bit more shallow might tend to be more up their alley. It's actually one shot banning the Chalet, which is interesting. With one shot being really strong on that map historically and LSR just showing some massive faults yesterday, that one is a bit perplexing.
Just a little bit. I feel like it's almost more perplexing than yesterday, where I believe someone banned West Garfield Park's bank after witnessing how beatable it was. But I guess that's life in the world of map bans. And yes, your screen is not glitched. We are gonna go to Clubhouse. Me personally, Connor. Me personally, Brim. Me personally, Stream. I like this map for one shot. They absolutely have a history of just baptizing people here. It's where good teams go to die.
But both of these teams are good, so who's going to die, CJ?
Probably
Don't ruin the anticipation. We gotta wait for the.
yeah, I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I don't
we
even know. I don't even know who I want to pick right now based on this map. I need to think about it right now. In a
Yeah,
moment.
I
This is
think
gonna be
that
one
you
as I-
personally.
I gotta switch. No, one
You-
shot.
Yeah, I
pick
want
one
to
shot.
switch as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys.
Me and
as
CJ
Cookies
will
can't
switch
talk all
this.
that talk and then not switch to one shot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with LSR. I think they looked really good even in the loss yesterday. It went deep. It went all the way. Connor, walk me through one shot. Why them?
Well, you know, NVK, he's actually been playing pretty well. I called that, you know, we're going to see a resurgence. He's putting some respect on his name after everybody was clowning him for his relegation performance against Parabellum. But, you know, we're gassing up Kento, but he's not Spirits. That's a little bit of a truth bomb here. They're not going up against Parabellum. They're going up against LSR, who have a little bit more flaws than what we saw with Parabellum. And when you have the supporting cast, I mean, Kilo has always performed great on this map of Clubhouse. And we haven't seen Kilo really perform all season long. Hopefully this is where he bounces back and helps be that big difference maker in his matchup against Vivid.
But like Cookies, I know you've changed your vote here to one shot. But honestly, like if Vivid and if Inrio, just pick it up a bit from yesterday. I know they got a long day ahead. They're dangerous. Like there's a lot to worry about for one shot.
I also think it's important to say, like, you know, I'm not just looking at the numbers and saying, oh, he should pick it up. Like, I'm literally watching Inrio. You know, there's hesitation in his game, right? He's not driving to the paint. He's not peeking repels and not, you know, looking for opportunities to slot into what's happening. Maybe he needs to think a little more independently and just go for stuff. And I don't know, is this a map where you can do that? Clubhouse is kind of, you do that, you're kind of the troll. Like if you go crouch walking down blue or something early on, you're kind of a noob, right? So I don't know if there's too many cooks in the kitchen for LSR, and maybe that's what creates that effect. But it's definitely going to be a perplexing one. Also, like, I like this was a rematch from Stage 3 playoffs. Someone got their feelings hurt, right? So let's see who.
This is going to be an incredibly close game. This is a coin toss for sure.
Let's see who got better over the past 4 to 5 months. Let's see.
I'm personally just thankful that you two switched your votes so that Elyssar can safely win. I felt when it was Elyssar across the board, I was like, oh, I've just dropped points there. But didn't you guys do this for me yesterday as well? I think it was Aqualix.
Yeah. Never voting for them again.
Never.
Before we get into it though, Connor, one last question. Do you think that lack of a game played yesterday for One Shot, free win, sure, it's nice on the board, but you're not getting in there, you're not kind of getting up to speed or practice, or do you look at it the other way and go, hey, free day off, more time to be energized, relax, whereas Elyssar, they're on the grind this weekend?
I think it's just business as usual for both of these teams. They've been in enough Challenger League stages that nothing really phases them. I think we cannot remove that from the equation of who's better. Who cares if you played yesterday, if you didn't, blah, 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 blah. I mean, One Shot could have gotten like a game day scrim or whatever they wanted to do. Just nice and easy.
Okay. And before we get into it, Cookies, do we see a bloodbath? Do we see this go all the way? Or is there any chance that one of these two teams, as closely matched as they are, could just slaughter the other one?
Really depends on if One Shot can actually attack well. If One Shot comes out and lays an egg on attack, it's going to be a blowout in favor of Elyssar. If One Shot actually shows some competency in assaulting this map, they're going to be the ones to walk away with victory. I think this first half of the game is going to decide the tempo and the energy, and it's going to go from there, either which direction. Is that a good answer?
I think it's a fantastic answer. It's so fantastic that it's geared me up for this match right now. So we are going to get into it right now. Clubhouse, One Shot Elyssar. I'll toss it over to our casters, Pro and Fellow.
Hello, everyone. I'm Harrison, and for the first time in a while, I'm joined by John. The last time we cast together, it was a collegiate LAN. Now, if you're all wondering why Joan is not here, he's unfortunately feeling a bit under the weather. He's got a very sore throat. Thank God it hit him now, and not while he was doing the NAL. So, thankful for that. But get well soon, Jonah. Until then, John, you and I get to have some fun.
Yeah, especially starting out with a very exciting matchup between Elyssar and One Shot. This is probably going to be one of the better, if not the best game of the day. I'm really hoping this one goes the distance, especially on a map like Clubhouse, Harrison.
Oh, yeah. And so here's the thing that I'm going to disagree with the analyst desk, right? Like, they see Clubhouse and they're like, okay, last time we saw One Shot play this, or last time we saw One Shot play Elyssar, they were IF last stage. They beat them in playoffs 2-1. Last time we saw One Shot play Club, it was against Aerial Arise, who made it all the way to the finals, and One Shot won like 7-2 or 7-1. But they're forgetting, Elyssar have not played Clubhouse in a while either, and they have almost always won it. In fact, Elyssar has been a Clubhouse team before One Shot even existed. So that's where I'm staking my faith. I think Oblation is going to make a return.
Yeah, and I think with yesterday's matchup not being a win, maybe a tad more humbling perhaps, although things ended out like I mentioned it the other day, very bittersweet because of this connection. They still made a lot of issues, and they did have a lot of underlying issues. The analyst mentioned a lot of Inrio being very inactive. Kento wasn't doing that great of a job on the entry. I think Giddy had more entries overall in that matchup in comparison to Kento. So the mistakes that Elyssar made, I'm sure they had plenty of time to go over them so they could be more prepared for this best of one matchup.
Yeah, and, I'm actually surprised the way the map bans went with Cafe being left so late in the map bans, because, everyone knows not to take One Shot to Cafe. It was already a very well-established fact. Outlast learned that lesson off-stream yesterday. They got 7-1 on Cafe. Very surprised that Cafe was left up for so long, but in the end, Elyssar did get the last ban, so I'm sure it's, that was probably in the cards for them anyway. Something else, actually, that I hadn't mentioned, John, is actually that we had seen Elyssar play Clubhouse just as recently as One Shot. It was also in CL playoffs, and Elyssar actually beat Parabellum on that map.
Well, if One Shot aren't shaking a little bit, then might be trying to shake a little bit now, perhaps. Yeah, the Maverick ban, there is a solid chance we might actually see Thatcher available today, unless we have Elyssar ban it. Yeah, all right. Well, that's unfortunate. I was going to say, One Shot are very strong with the Thatcher pick, and really any team is. He's just a good operator to have. So
Cali.
It's kind of, well, maybe not just yet. But yeah, still have that Thatcher ban. Pretty default stuff so far. Nothing to really overly talk about, I suppose, just yet in the ban phase.
And of course, with that Maverick Thatcher ban, you got to get rid of the Cade. There are a couple maps where you can still, play with the Cade up and use the ban for something like a Valkyrie or what have you, but on Clubhouse, no. Way too many little cheeky hiding spots. Cade is almost an end-all be-all when the Maverick Thatcher are banned. And One Shot using their next ban on Mira is an interesting one. Clubhouse is not a Mira map. Like, sure, she can be useful, but it's not nearly as powerful as, like, on Cafe, for example. One of Mira's very best maps, Bank, where Mira is extremely useful. So that leaves Valkyrie up. Subarctic immediately going to don that operator. It's a church arsenal defense. I mean, Valkyrie, Mute, Castle, screaming a roam for One Shot.
I mean, it just allows that high volatility in the roam game. You've got more intel to play off, and you don't just need to revolve around your entire playstyle being more intel denial. You actually have a couple of cameras to kind of work with to maybe prolong that inevitable roam game to waste even more time by Elyssar, especially if they have somebody like Kento who doesn't really do a good job of finding those entry kills. This roam game might honestly be a really big thing that just applies too much pressure for Elyssar, and they might not even get a good enough chance to properly push down in the basement site for an execute.
And even Kento, right? Sure, he had a bit of a slow game yesterday against Gaming Gladiators, but who stepped up in his place? Young Alec and Giddy, who were getting multi-kill after multi-kill. In fact, if I look back at my notes real quick, right? If I do some very quick statistician work, and I look at that game, I believe every single round that Elyssar won, with the exception of round 9, every single round they won was off a 3K or a 4K by Kento, Giddy, and Young Alec. So, I mean, if that doesn't speak to the pedigree of these players, I don't know what does. But of course, One Shot aren't without their playmaking ability as well. I mean, they've got NBK, who has actually adjusted very well to the roster since we've seen the Nocturnes game. You've got Swaylin, the highest rated player in the league, Kilo, Slippery. Every single one of these players in this lobby can hold their own, and that's what makes me so hyped for this matchup.
Already for Elyssar, they have opened up the CC wall, spots out NVK. Now he has to make that call whether he wants to fall back down through red or not, but wouldn't be that bad of an idea to maybe go for that retreat. So yeah, he'll do just that, moving down in towards lower blue. But there's still the entire other half of the map you need to deal with. Kilo, Slippery, they're all playing in tandem, just waiting for someone to eventually get over aggressive. This first gunfight might happen rather soon unless Slippery thinks better of it and decides to fall back. But if he needs to, he'll have the audio call of that barricade stacked up in the bathroom and a black eye camera as well. So he'll have plenty of information to make that final decision of whether he wants to actually fall back or not.
I'm really surprised that One Shot are letting go of this roam so quickly. Typically with that Valkyrie, right? You have those cams, not only do they facilitate that roam, but you've also already dedicated them to the upstairs. Now those cams, if they get shot, or if, they're on like a hard floor, let's say, are going to be near useless, especially if Elyssar have a good enough flank watch to make sure that One Shot can't, act off that intel to flank. So the fact that One Shot fell off with after just a minute wasted is a little surprising to me, but we've now spent another minute of Elyssar just kind of setting up, above the hatches, opening Moto, since I believe it was left soft. Vivid still has one. I think he used one on blue, where he is right now. Inrio, I think, is just now going to go ahead and open up kitchen. Oh, no. Oh, maybe Moto was reinforced. I swear I thought I heard, like, Zoe open it or something.
Well, with 40 seconds left, everything is still decent in terms of pacing, and Kento even finds that opening kill, so having that man advantage does open things up a lot more here for Elyssar, and not that much to really slow them down either, besides maybe that singular toxic canister, but it gets expended with 30 seconds left, so Elyssar just have to wait for that perfect moment to strike now.
And self-flash will cause a bit of a delay, and Kilo gets the C4 on Giddy, meaning that back arsenal pressure from above is gone, but Kento lines up another Swaylin, trying to crouch walk up on the doorway, will end up dying. Subarctic has hit the floor. Here's the blue push from young Alex Solo. He'll get 1 and 2 in the site. Elyssar with round number 1. The roam clear very quick, as One Shot were eager to gift them that control, and the collapse on site nearly flawless.
And Kento as well, getting that opening kill. definitely a big sigh of relief there for Elyssar having that man advantage. And because we had such a big emphasis on the roam clear, or not just the roam clear itself, but the actual roam established by One Shot Pardon, they didn't have a lot to actually stop a full-fledged execute. So the fact that they fell back very early, it gave a lot of time for Elyssar to work with. They had a full rotate leading in through Secret. They had people stacking up in through both, I believe, the back kitchen area, main stairs, also hopping in through Moto leading into church. So really everything was accounted for there by Elyssar because they had so much time to kill and they had the opening duel as a victory. So again, they had a lot of pressure to just pile on against One Shot.
Yeah, the execute was damn near perfect from Elyssar. And I mean, even with Giddy dying, that wasn't a whole lot of damage to Elyssar because, I mean, sure, they've lost a player, but the main push is going down, you know, Arsenal, or not Arsenal, Church Wall, Moto, and Blue. So losing your top Arsenal player, you know, isn't that big of a deal, especially with the man count they had, ensuring that no one from One Shot would be able to walk up towards back Arsenal. I mean, just very well done all around. Now we're going to Gym. One Shot, not going to mess with the bottom floor any longer. They're bringing out the Frost as their sole shield, so no smoke on this site. And I do worry if Swaylin and Kilo aren't in a position to go downstairs and deny that plant, Elyssar's execute, again, might go rather smoothly.
Also a relatively big emphasis on that cast extension. I mean, that is common, but I feel like it's once again One Shot kind of putting all their eggs into one basket, essentially. I say that term a lot, but it happens very often here in these past couple of playdays, so only makes sense. Elyssar could have honestly probably gone for more of a jacuzzi take and then go for a main presence instead, and they would probably get away with a lot more trickery in comparison to just dealing with this extension head on, but it's not a bad option. They've got plenty of util to deal with both the Wamai and Jaeger. You mentioned there's only one shield, so the explosivity of those grenades can more or less be used only for players for the most part in just that singular shield, so it's not going to be that challenging for Elyssar to get through this exact same default clear. It's just a matter of, again, if they can win that opening duel in a timely manner as well.
That Osa shield is something I like as well. We saw Oculix do it on this map to prevent anyone peeking from CC window. We saw, was it Gaming Gladiators who did it on Chalet? Someone did it on Chalet to stop a trophy window run out. And obviously Elyssar had a very similar idea, only it got impacted. We just saw Swaylin get his head popped by Inrio on that, I guess, elevated angle, we'll call it, outside that breach. Nice shot by the Hibana to give his team the first pick. And, John, not only is that Swaylin dead, not only is that man count, but that's one of 2 C4s, your only form plant denial now off the board.
And I believe Kilo has already expended his 2. And now with some of this extension falling back into the site,
pre-placed.
it might be pre-placed. I didn't hear it detonate yet. Actually, it's still on the board if you look in the right or the left-hand side. So yeah, I think it's just a pre-place now by Kilo. Still, a lot of time left for Elyssar once again to just take their time, drone things out. They've got a couple left in their back pocket, and that's it, and still a singular grenade. And now that Kento has killed somebody in Khan's room, that leaves no more nitro cells because that's Kilo gone. So it's just a direct take at this point, Harrison.
And Kento has been, of course, afforded his Finka LMG. I'm sure he's very thankful for that. Both NVK and Subarctic now lit up. The Jaeger, actually, we saw previously and still downstairs, despite not having any verticality to play with. Subarctic is going to be allowed to rotate back to main. Never mind, he will quickly go back into the site and lose his life because of it. Inreal vaults into the bathroom. It'll end up being Giddy to get that kill. Vivid, another. Slippery, he gets 2. Piecing up both, I believe, in Khan, but in the meantime, Vivid's got that plant down. Now it's a 3v1 post on Jim. Very difficult site to retake, especially with no one on the metal balcony, no freebies for him to find, and getting detected. Elyssar know exactly where he's going to be coming from. He's got a couple pings, but I'm not quite sure how much that's going to help, especially with Inrio holding right by the gold rotate. Elyssar take round number 2, and John, just as I said, the execute going nearly flawlessly.
Yeah, and for Elyssar, they were just in a good position to take gunfights early on. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty, so they got Enrio to get the first opening duel as a win. Kento followed up, instant 5-on-3. One shot, they've got to scramble, they've got to lose a lot of their map control. And like you noted, still having NVK in the middle of bar when no one's pushing in from lower main, it did weaken the site presence even more, especially with the Frost as well still in Logi. It was basically a 1 versus 3 essentially at that point, as we still had a couple players rotating around from, I believe it was Cons, and someone was still in the roof as well. But still, 3v1. That's fantastic for a site take. Immediately, we had the Thermite as well pop off. I believe that was Vivid getting his one, and he just went for the plant because there was no one there to stop him. So again, a fantastic clear by Elyssar, and now they've got 2 on the attack already.
And I really like the way Kento plays that Finka too. We see it a lot where Kento will be the entry player, and then once the ground is actually taken and Elyssar starts setting up, he backs off and plays almost like that flank watch. I mean, perfect example. He was hanging outside the con window, I think maybe even on the roof, waiting for someone to rotate. And I think NVK's position might be a little bit more explainable with Subarctic's death, because Subarctic, right, he died in con. Why would he be rotating to con? I think maybe he was planning to drop the hatch and play for that nitro, and NVK was downstairs to cover him. But because Kento was watching that window, had an eye on the hatch from the roof, kills the Valkyrie, NVK's position down there is now just kind of a moot point. So I think that may, explain it a little better. But One-Shot are going for the same roam that they did in round number 1, employing that Legion, the drone denial, and the info, as well as those castles to help facilitate rotations. Elyssar opted to full challenge this roam and cleared it within a minute, and it looks like they'll try to do so again.
If we have One-Shot, though, try to hold their own, maybe have just a singular player potentially still in that middle floor or top floor to kind of die or work for a pick, that could potentially prolong this clear happening by Elyssar. Already 4 drones down, though. I might be incorrect in that number, but they are very low on drones already so far in this first minute, so maybe that could actually keep this roam defense quite alive for One-Shot, much longer than we saw on round number 1, as no one's even been fully pushed out from that first floor just yet, so things are looking promising so far for One-Shot.
Yeah, you are correct in that count. Perhaps even 5 drones down if one of those Twitch drones has been shot. Now make it 6. So Elyssar are being starved for info, and the roam clear has gone down just as fast, but, again, it's come at the price of those drones. Now, they do have damage on NVK, and now Elyssar have to try and transition to that setup once again. Now, they have plenty of time. They've got a whole minute 40, but there's no Iana on the board. Giddy is completely out of drones. Kento has 1 shock drone. Young Alec is completely out. It's going to be heavily on the shoulders of Inrio and Divivid to make sure that Elyssar don't go into this site blind.
Minute 20. Giddy finally dropping down, getting ready to just do the exact same stop obstruction he did earlier. It's once again just looking to be that exact same push occurring by Elyssar there, rotating around in secret to have the Zofia player just kind of walk down blue and just hold M1 to go work for a couple of picks, and the sledge can start doing even more vert pressure. But the opening kill is not going to favor Elyssar. It's going to be Kilo to find that nitro cell and bring the advantage 5v4, favoring One-Shot in this situation.
The first opening kill One-Shot has found in these first 3 rounds. Now, you do only lose your Twitch, which in terms of utility isn't the biggest deal in the world, but he did still have a drone in the pocket, and he has been a demon on the entry thus far. Luckily, though, your hard breach is still alive, meaning that Moto hatch, kitchen hatch, and probably blue hatch has now been opened. Young Alec, once again, going to go for this solo play down blue when there's 35 seconds left, so his pinch is going to be of the utmost importance, especially now that One-Shot have that man advantage. Both Subarctic and Swaylin, as well as Slipper, I believe, are staring in that direction, and thanks to the toxic gas canister, Valkyrie is able to rotate behind Generator. Giddy does get a nade kill, though, to even up the man count. Peeking in is the Valkyrie. They're trying to double up with the smoke, and there's Swaylin. Perfect timing. Good call with his team. In drops the planter of Vivid, and he's going to try and plant right behind the shelf. He's got Overwatch of the hatch, but Kilo comes in, denies that plant, and there's only 4 seconds left. There is no hope for Elyssar in this round any longer. A triple kill for Kilo, and Inrio will stay alive. One-Shot take round number 3, and that is their first point.
And although we were a bit worried about the early fallback, there was a general lack of information because One-Shot were fantastic at destroying those drones early on for their roam game, and they actually slowed down Elyssar by having a nitro cell kill favor the way a Kilo, and their positioning was overall just much more vibrant because of that. They had less angles to worry about and less people on the board. It's not a big deal that you lose your Twitch drone, of course. It's not that much of a big deal when you're going on that base like you mentioned, Harrison, but it's the fact of you lose the gunner of Kento, someone who really can be that make or break for a final push, someone who can get aggressive and win that 1-for-1. Now having that off the board completely, you have to be very conservative on how you want to go for your pushes, how you want to take those gunfights, and Elyssar were just completely stretched thin, especially when we still had those toxic canisters cutting off a lot of key angles for Elyssar, allowing those rotates that you highlighted, especially in blue, to go for a double swing, guaranteeing that kill, and just only having to worry about that kitchen drop with only 13 seconds left.
Yeah, that duo play in blue definitely helped them out because Young Alec was able to get 2 kills because One-Shot, kind of left blue a little bit lax because they were so focused on the front side. I think, maybe that's also another side effect of One-Shot having a man up. Maybe they felt more comfortable to rotate their players in and around, especially with Elyssar going for a kitchen drop down rather than that church push. Definitely also hurt them. But I'm sure Elyssar aren't too worried about it. They are still 1 round up. If they collect 1 more, then they've, secured at the very least that even side split. Kento is now once again back on that Finka, back with the LMG in hand, and on round 4, we'll finally be seeing cash. Unfortunately, we will immediately get a sound bug due to a drone being shot, which kind of sucks. But there is a shield that Kento's going to have to deal with. NVK playing bottom red, playing right behind it, and his task, of course, is to hold down Lounge and ensure that Subarctic isn't to be cleared from below.
Well, the Cade, or the Bandit batteries actually, are on the back wall, and because of the lack of a Maverick, we probably have to see that rotate with the grenades, whether that be for the subcentral balcony or just someone playing vert underneath, whether that be the Zofia or still somebody with a grenade. That's the big question. Giddy holding the cutoff. He's going to win that opening duel against NVK, having no idea that somebody was inside of the kitchen/freezer, and having the vertical now established. Subarctic currently concussed. I believe he can still try to get the bandit trick. No, I believe the final lifeline actually bounced him off of it. So brilliant timing by Elyssar, not only to get that first blood, but also get the plat wall opened up at a decent time despite the bandit trick.
Yeah, and predicting NVK falling off of Lounge and to rotate back in below to try and catch those downstairs players off guard, thinking they were safe because they got that shield, and it turned out, well, they were very safe because of Giddy's cutoff. Well done to Elyssar to open up that wall in pretty fast time. I mean, it only took about a minute 15 maybe, and they got a kill for it. So open breach, now they have to turn their attention to one other spot, whether it be Con or Garage. You need that secondary location to try and execute onto Cash. Now, Giddy will get a nade kill onto Slippery, I believe, just from the breach itself. Swaylin, though, will get a refrag onto Kento, who looked like maybe he was trying to walk up red or come through secret. And it's only a minute left. Sure, Elyssar are up a man, but they still have not taken either Garage or Con. Finally, they'll turn their main attention to it. It looks like it's going to be a Garage. There are quite a number of bodies stacked up. Not only do you have the man in rafters, there's also someone holding his stairs with the long angle. They've got no idea where he's peeking from, but no Kilo. He'll whip the shots on one, not on the other, and end up downing Giddy. Finishing him off with the pistol, he's looking for the third. Vivid is right underneath him. Young Alec cannot yet help from this breach, and he's prone. He's completely safe. He knows that he no longer has to get these kills. All he does is waste time. He doesn't know about the thermite rotating, though, and it will catch him off guard, but there's Subarctic once again holding that up position, holding that long angle onto the staircase, and now it's Young Alec in a 1 versus 2. 1 on red, 1 in Cash, getting slowly choked off and stumped by that Banshee. Low on time, he needs to go for these kills, and with such little HP, he'll be quite easily traded out. Never mind, it is just the C4 to kill him by Subarctic, and will even up the score 2-2.
And not having anybody to directly deal with the smoke player in red, nobody went through lobby to go push him in that lower area, no one threw a nade back towards them. It allowed him to completely isolate anyone trying to help out clear that raptor position in the top area because of those toxic cancers near red. So it allowed Subarctic, I believe, was on level 9 to go and just completely shut everything down that was being pushed in him from the back of garage, and also I believe the actual main garage doorway. And he wasted not only so many resources but also just a ton of time, which made up for the relatively weak start by One Shot on that defense. They lost 2 people immediately. It was a 5-on-3 at one point, but because we had such great team play by both the Wamai and also the Smoke, it completely changed how everything was supposed to unfold in that round, and actually gave One Shot their second win on the defense.
Yeah, it was 2 kills in Garage. Again, for Kilo. So very well done. I really expected Elyssar to go for that clear earlier. I mean, they had the breach open in a minute 15, and then they wasted like another whole minute before they even began the clear. So that was a little bit odd, but we are back on Jim. Elyssar have won this attack before. It looks like One Shot are, again, going to be going for, your standard cash extension, which Elyssar dealt with pretty handedly. I don't even remember, like, the cash side of things really doing anything. That's how fast Elyssar dealt with it, I guess. They just opened the con window, opened the breach, and then that was it. Everyone from One Shot fell back.
And they do have a slightly different lineup this time around, Harrison. They are not opting for the Osa Talon Shields. Instead, they've got Rotero drones in the hands of Young Alec, with that mute still being on the board. it could actually deny a lot of this intel game and also general destruction, but it looks like that Mute Jammer is not going to be that much of a challenge for Vivid because he can just put that thermite charge directly on the top, and because the Mute Jammers are now in a dome shape, it actually just barely evades it. So they can now begin to slowly clear things out, both from cache side and also construction with the help of those Otero drones hopped out from the balcony / roof, forcing NVK a little farther back, and decent map control so far by Elyssar. Once again, Clash is already fully cleared, and they really have to maybe just have somebody late push in through Logi and then still worry about Jacuzzi. And this will be a rather standard take in the first minute.
Yeah, I mean, a minute and literally everyone from the defense is back on site. That's pretty damn good for Elyssar, unless someone from One Shot can end up rotating down below. They still have 2 C4s, but what they don't have is the Valkyrie. No bulletproof cams either, so One Shot might be severely lacking on info. I don't know how possible a C4 from below will be, but what is this? Elyssar, a massive lapse in coverage, I guess assuming that it was going to be okay, even though they don't have the gym window open. I don't really know what Elyssar's thought process was there. Maybe they didn't know there was a bandit and figured that, hey, if it's just a Mute Jammer, we can go ahead and simply breach it. But because of that, they'll lose Vivid's only other exothermic.
I don't even think there was a jammer on it. They just assumed because there was no electricity that it had to be a jammer at that point. And yeah, they just had no clue a bandit was there ready to trick. So they're going to lose that thermite charge. But thankfully with Enrio on the Habana and the bandit completely falling back into Master, that does allow at least one part of this wall to be opened up. Still allowing for a very default take by Elyssar. But now that Kilo lands another amazing Nitro cell, One Shot, they still have the advantage.
Luckily, the Thermite has already used both of his charges, so all you're losing is a body and your main planter. But Kilo, another, as he simply swings the window, takes the head off of Giddy, and One Shot are making a resurgence in this map. Nearly another one on Young Alec. It's Kento, though, to clap back on NVK. Inrio, the next to get traded by Sub, I believe playing in Bathroom. Kilo now a full blind, could be susceptible, but Subarctic has his back. 2 for the Wamai, 2 for the Bandit, leaves Kento all alone in a 1 versus 4. We've seen him ace clutch before, but with such little time, he has almost no chance. Getting lit up, finally downed and finished off by Slip. One Shot take the lead.
And I know the desk talked about Kilo being rather important in a lot of wins for One Shot, and just not being there definitely gave a couple losses to them in a few of their matches in the past. But Kilo so far has been doing fantastic on Clubhouse, finding the opening win a couple of times and being incredibly impactful. We saw him on CCTV waste a lot of time and player count inside of Garage. We saw him find that Nitro opening not only in the church defense the second time they attempted and the second time on their gym and bedroom defense, and still found a bit more success after getting that first kill, making it the 5-on-4, which for Elyssar, that was the one thing they were really missing on their attacks. They fully cleared out cash room early on. They had Jacuzzi wall opened up despite the minor mistake done by the Thermite, because luckily they had Enry on the Habana. So that's all they were missing, is just having the man advantage and giving them more room to work with, because One Shot had to be more passive when they're at the disadvantage. But because that never happened, we still had One Shot take away a third round their defense, and now they've got the advantage because they've been playing so well against Elyssar currently.
And the most recent time that they defended Church, remember, they won. Now, instead of Elysian, NVK will now be donning the Vigil. We'll see if that's enough for him to get his first pick. He's had a bit of a slow start. It's weird. NVK has had some banger off-stream games, but it seems like he struggles a bit when he's actually on stream. So we'll see if he can, get the ball rolling and be the NVK that we've seen him be most recently. So, more drone denial on the board. Still the info from the Valkyrie. I'm glad she's making a reappearance. Of course, the castle still here to facilitate rotation. Smoke on site just in case Elyssar try to play fast, or if they go ahead and full clear the roam, they'll be punished by those gas canisters. Now, Elyssar, remember, on the round they were successful. It was a church moto take, and One Shot did kind of give up their bodies to the moto player of Kento. The time they lost, they tried for a kitchen drop down. So I'm hoping Elyssar don't go for that same play.
One major thing that kind of shot Elyssar, at least themselves, in the foot a bit, was the fact that they were very low on drone econ, so they were running in blind a couple moments, and also not being aware that there was a Valkyrie with Nitro cells to deny any kitchen verticality, so it did put them at disadvantage once again, which allowed more, I suppose, I wouldn't want to say volatility, but still a better aggression by One Shot in those last 40 to 50 seconds. But speaking of aggression, we've got Young Alec in the weirdest spot in Bathroom. Nobody checked for him pushing strip, and he wins 2 immediate kills with the LMG. 5-on-3 already for Elyssar, as we just found young Alec catching a huge opening and completely capitalizing on it.
You see too? Did you see the way Subarctic was like kind of looking behind him before he rotated in front of the door? I really thought he was gonna check for that, and young Alec would have probably died because he wasn't, he was looking at the other side of the doorway. But alas, Subarctic turns his back. Slippery tries to go for the refrag, but alas, he's the UMP operator, and he's peeking into 150 bullets. What can you do? Well done to young Alec to find 2 very impactful openers, but there is still a roamer on the board. NVK is still running amok, although he is only top secret. So he's very close to the site. I'm sure as soon as Elyssar start to pressure him, he will likely fall back. And there is significantly less time for Elyssar to play with in terms of setting up for their execute. Both rounds so far on this bomb site, Elyssar have had about a minute 40-ish to open the hatches, to get their vert play down, to drone site, blah, blah, blah. Now they only have about a minute. They do have the man count. We'll see if that lack of time punishes them in the end.
I doubt, though, we'll see the exact same kind of team play by One Shot because it's already that 5 versus 3. We have to see a lot more solo attempts out here for One Shot. NVK is all the way in the back of dirt to make sure nobody can potentially walk in through the blue doorway. If they rush in through secret hallway, they can maybe get shot down depending on the timing here by NVK. But still, 30 seconds for Elyssar. They just need to isolate a couple more players, and they really should have this round in the bag. And still, plenty of general utility as well. Things are just looking better and better for them, but that last second impact trick will deny the entry leading the kitchen, but there are still plenty of options here for Elyssar in the final 20 seconds.
They've opened up church wall, but this shotgun could be dangerous. Here it comes. Down goes the thermite. Down goes diffuser. Another one for Swaylin, and the entirety of the attack is dead. What happened? NVK with 1 kilo, another, and it's just Giddy in a 1v3. It looked like it could not go wrong for Elyssar, but in the end, Giddy will end up padding his stats and losing the round. One Shot take a 4-2 half. John, you said it. It was looking so good for Elyssar. Sure, the kitchen dropdown was denied, but they opened up church wall. Swaylin playing close on the wall, downing diffuser, killing Kento, dropping Moto, thinned Elyssar's ranks incredibly. Because you had one more person coming main stairs. You had one person pushing blue. It was 1 by 1 by 1 for Elyssar, and none of them could win their fight. So in the 3v3, One Shot swept. Well done. I did not expect them to win that round, but Swaylin shut me up, as did the supporting cast of MVK and Kilo. And One Shot, I thought this was going to be even, but One Shot ended up taking the advantage.
And that, I feel, had a lot to do with Elyssar just not knowing what they were about to get themselves into. They had no idea NVK had an impact grenade saved up to deny the hatch play in kitchen. They had to immediately adapt, get the church wall opened up, and hope that play could work out. And they had no time to drone, as there was about 15 seconds left once that exothermic charge finally detonated on triple wall. So they had no idea somebody was playing that close next to the wall near the boxes to actually be that damaging with a shotgun. So Elyssar, again, just running in blind, a problem we have seen a couple of times in their first half. At least now, moving on their defense, they won't technically have to worry about that, but still, losing probably one of the most winnable rounds they really had without them truly getting that success mark, it definitely does seem a bit worrying in my mind that we're having Elyssar choke a lot of winning positions, at least in that first half.
We'll see whether or not they can defend. Perhaps it's just a defender-sided clubhouse. That is, of course, entirely possible, John. We can't rule that out just yet, not until we see more of Elyssar's play. Unless One Shot just, absolutely sweep on the attack, and then, I'm just going to look dumb. But we do have a bandit in play. It's Giddy. But this time, the gym window is open. One Shot are actually doing their due diligence to deny any semblance of a bandit trick. I mean, they're pre-placed, but they won't be for long as they flash in, burn the ADSs. Here comes the nade from Slippery, and it is just as easy as that. But no, there's actually a castle barricade there that they haven't opened, so never mind. One Shot did half of their due diligence, I guess. And the castle barricade is still not open. So, I mean, Giddy will end up giving up on that bandit trick, but with Thermite being, out of hard breach charges and Swaylin only with 2 of those left, your hard breach options, if Conwall is reinforced, are now severely limited.
Yeah, they can't really do all that much except just going for the standard util push to get rid of anyone playing that close in bathroom, I suppose, unless they want to fall back to not get pressured out from the sub-balk, but you can always just sit in the shower stall like Kento's doing right now. So not that big of a concern just yet for Elyssar, but still for one shot they got the standard wall breach done. So I guess nothing too shocking to be worried about just yet by them, but they are taking their sweet time. The roam game is still afoot, at least in the hands of Enro. He almost tries to melee open Strip Club to go for a spawn peek, but he's not going to end up finding anything just yet. But at least he is playing in the middle of bar to stop anybody from late rotating main, but I don't think that's on the drawing board here for one shot. They've got a much bigger presence inside of the balcony and inside Jacuzzi as well.
Slip will get that first pick on to Giddy. So your Bandit dies. That is a C4 off the board. And again, limited plant denial here for the defense because there's no smoke in play. And Valkyrie is now the only one with an explosive in her pocket. Inrio not only has that window jump in for Jim, but, you know, he can also protect young Alec should he rotate downstairs. But Alec is currently playing inside of Logi. There is no chance for him to do that. And with 30 seconds left, it's probably just going to be a horizontal C4 to try and deny if Alec ends up even being in a position to. Now extremely lit up. He's just being chased by NVK, but Vivid has the cross. Good coverage from his team. It looks like the Jaeger is now going to try and rotate upstairs, but young Alec hits the floor thanks to Subarctic, the other LMG on the board for this attack. Kento is backed off all the way to the bathroom stall as Vivid now dies. 4 versus 2, but the time is so low. Now it's all up to Kento. All he needs to do is deny the plant once, but there's so many people surrounding him. Nearly an impossible task. Kento falls to the floor, and one shot take a 3-round lead.
And I think it was either because they had a good drone game in that 1vx or just via process of elimination, they kind of figured out that the Wamai was just kind of stuck in shower. So instead of walking right into his LOS, we just had everybody moving closer towards the main doorway, heading into bedroom, and just planting kind of close to the actual concrete wall itself. That way the Wamai was basically in a losing position as he had to deal with somebody on the balcony. They had to deal with multiple people on the site. It was just too much to handle in that 1vx. But the build up there for one shot was fantastic. They were still very calm and collected. They got the opening kill, and really everything that Elyssar tried to throw at them was just completely shut down. We had that late push in by the Finka, which was a little rough around the edges, but there was an immediate trade for one shot, so they still had the man advantage, and they still had all the time in the world to go for that plant position with a dominating position, to say the least, in the beginning of that second half.
Yeah, Elyssar are looking a little rough. And I can't like exactly put my finger on it either, because it's like the early round goes fine in pretty much every single round they've played so far. It's like the early round either goes well or it's mid, you know, nothing really happens. And then they get crushed in the late round. And after their initial 2 executes in rounds 1 and 2 looked so good, they were flawless. They completely crumbled the rest of the attacking half. And I'm worried they're going to do that again on defense. I mean, they lost the first pick, whatever, but they didn't reinforce bathroom. Like, you know they already breached cache. You know you burned 1 thermite charge. They have nothing to open bathroom, which means your Wamai can play way more aggressively, you know, either on the windows or walk up to the matches, try and hold on to the main stairs, walk up, assist Alec, you know, by Logi, whatever. But I don't know. It's been weird from Elyssar so far. This is not the team that we've been seeing through the past couple of days. In fact, I would wager that they are actually looking a little bit worse than they did yesterday.
Well, we have mentioned a couple times this will be their hardest week for sure, and they do seem a bit disjointed because of that, having to play against much more veteran teams. It definitely has put a big toll on them, and they haven't really been able to play up to their fullest potential just yet. But hey, there's still a couple of rounds. It's not over until it's over, so maybe we'll see that bounce back by them eventually. But they have given away a lot of opening kills in these past couple of rounds, especially by the hands of Kilo. Now, don't get me wrong, last round it was Slippery to get the opening duels to win, but Kilo in general right now has just been popping off. Even though he's been more on that supportive role, especially now moving on the attack as the Thermite, he is still finding kills left, right, and center, and still doing his job on the Heartbeat, which is probably the biggest thing you've got to do as that Thermite, is get a wall open for your team so they have angles to play with and maybe an option to walk in the site.
I'm glad Kilo's doing well because he's had a bit of a slow season, definitely taking backseat to people like Swaylin. So Kilo heating up definitely brings a smile to my face. Inro is playing quite aggressively at the bottom of Garage in Swamp, but actually kills Slip there. Was not expecting him to win that fight, and yet Slip falls to the floor. First pick Elyssar, and there is still a C4 operator downstairs that One Shot are going to have to worry about. If they allow Inrio to play here and do whatever he wants, that's a dangerous prospect. I don't know if the drone saw the Jaeger. I believe it did, and that's why Kento is falling off, but Inrio will now fall to a nade. If you can't kill him by swinging, do it indirectly. There's the evener. And, I mean, they have killed the player downstairs, but there's only a minute left, John. They haven't even opened the main breach.
Yeah, funny enough, just talking about Keela doing good in his job, and only now does he get the wall opened up. Giddy almost got the bandit trick off, funny enough, too, if only he was able to commit and wasn't worried about getting shot through the vertical pressure there by the Zofia. That could have actually been a complete stall out for One Shot, and they might have had to go for much more of a funnel push than what they had probably expected in these final 40 seconds.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, same problem that Elyssar had. You know, they're going to have to choose Con or Garage, and whichever one they do, it's going to be extremely late. I mean, young Alec has been generating his Wamai disc this entire round. I mean, he just got his last one, I think, and they're just going to try and send nades up. Swaylin is going to burn. It ends up killing young Alec. I think he dropped off rafters despite there being 15 seconds left. So what could have been a colossal waste of time will end up dying. Vivid will at least deny the red walk-up. Plant is going down. C4 from Giddy needs to land, and it will. And now the gas is covering that diffuser. One Shot are going to have to wade in and take damage at the same time, but they will simply stay static. And NVK won't even try. He will simply attempt to cover his teammate, but his teammate can't walk through the breach, so that position is a little useless, and that gives Elyssar their first round in the last 5.
And instead of it being with someone playing in both the top of red and someone just hard stalling for the defense inside of rafters, it was actually somebody in cash room, that being Giddy with the nitro cell, and then your smoke, of course, still holding quite comfortably inside of red. Now, he did allow a couple players to actually push in, but, I mean, he still had the smoke canister for the plant denial, so it still made One Shot put in a very uncomfortable position, and they didn't have a lot of time nor much of a player base left to get really hyper-aggressive. They were more or less playing in that position to just cover the plant from going down. So when they didn't take into account there still being a lot of util in the back pocket of Elyssar in those final couple of moments, everything just kind of turned into a bad scenario for One Shot. Although they do have a couple of rounds to bleed, them still giving a couple of moments here and there for Elyssar is definitely not the best idea, especially since they are still technically that top team here in CL, and both these teams would, they're pretty close match against one another. Good example, this matchup right now. They are still rather close to one another, despite some of the mistakes we have seen.
We'll see if Elyssar can waste that much time. Again, I'm sure they're certainly hoping to. They do really only have the Mute and the Valkyrie for this roam, though, if they even go for it. It looks like Inrio is really the only guy upstairs. Cameras might be used more for the basement than they are. Yeah, so 2 covering main stairs, in fact, and probably that last one either somewhere in church or somewhere in Arsenal to stare at the default plant spot. So Elyssar are actually going to hard bunker, the complete opposite of what we saw from One Shot nearly every single time they defended church. And I mean, they have the operators to do it. They've got a shield, they've got the smoke for that plant denial, they got 2 C4s and plenty of utility denial as well in this Wamai and Jaeger. So One Shot are certainly gonna have their work cut out for them. No freebies on that roam.
I still think having at least somebody get a little aggressive like what young Alec is doing, though, is a great option, just to kind of force yourself, be that presence, like, hey, I'm here, you still need to deal with me. Kind of waste a little bit of drones, it buys up a bit of time against One Shot, then he can fall back and still have that safety net of the actual bomb site. So, not a bad option. Maybe you would have preferred having someone play near main stairs as well, then they go for that full back, but depending on how fast they are to rotate away, they might get met with some sort of vertical pressure by the sledge if they are actually very slow in that retreat. So, better safe than sorry, I suppose, for Elyssar, as they're able to keep that 5-on-5. And again, they still have a gigantic emphasis on this util game, so they really are set up for this proper anchor in this next minute 30. Already trying to impact trick the hatch, and I believe at least some of it has been successful, if not completely. Inrio gets the first one, another Skywars charge detonates, but it's way too far away from the impact, so half the hatch will get opened up, and now it looks like we'll have a very standard push here for One Shot in the final minute 20.
And of course, I mean, impact tricking a Hibana, not the biggest deal for the attack anyway, even if it is successful. So, I mean, he did waste a fair bit, and that leaves Swaylin only with 4, but I'm sure Kilo still has, he's got an exothermic charge still in his pocket, so if they want to go ahead and open up church, they still have the opportunity to. They've got Blue Hatch open as well, so the Jaeger will be stationed watching that. I believe that's, is this NVK? Yeah, okay. NVK encroaching on the main stairs. And One Shot are looking for a kitchen drop-down play. They've done the necessary vert. They've completely flushed out back Arsenal. Now all they've got to do is establish the angles to ensure that once they do drop kitchen hatch, Elyssar are going to be there waiting. And Elyssar have been backed up quite a bit, all in church over by box 1 and dirt, so Swaelin's drop might be relatively safe, save for, a wayward C4 or so. The shield from Inrio could prove dangerous, but Swaelin's actually going to push into dirt and get the kill on Vivid, but he's traded. And that means he drops Case right in the middle of the site. Slippery will get another kill to tilt the man count in his team's favor. Kilo coming in for the assist as well, but Young Alec drops Subarctic playing in blue. There's another one for Inrio. We're in a 2 versus 2, and there's just no time remaining. No chance for the diffuser to be picked up unless the LMG can find its mark. NVK puts us down to a 1v1 and wins it against Inrio. Everyone doubted him, but NVK finally comes up big on stream and makes sure that his team secures the point.
Especially after a round that honestly looked it to be in the bag of Elyssar after we saw the Case completely forfeited by One Shot. They had Swaelin, out of all your players, Swaelin to get aggressive when they had Case. If someone charged in before them, and even if they lost that fight and Swaelin was there to refrag and then fall back to go for the plant, that would have been a much safer position, yet we had to have One Shot just completely bring it down, pedal to the metal, yet they were still able to win just because they had more bodies to throw at the equation against Elyssar. A absolute, I can say, probably massacre inside of Church and Arsenal. Even then, that would still be kind of an understatement with how much bloodshed we just saw on the basement floor, and we still have One Shot win that round, despite, again, Case being dropped. Man, that's got to sting for Elyssar, bro.
I mean, I don't know how they lost that. I guess it was just perfectly timed pushes from everybody from One Shot. I mean, sure, the Hibana drops the Case in sight, like you said, but One Shot stayed on top of the trades. Almost every single time Elyssar was able to get a kill, One Shot had a response up until that final 1v2 where Elyssar, swung the man count in their favor, but they didn't expect NVK to be smack dab in the middle of Arsenal, catches one through the blue rotate, and Inrio just loses the fight. And now instead of bunkering, I imagine they've figured that, you know what, that's not going to work. We've learned our lesson. They will do the exact opposite. They'll go for a rather heavy roam. They have the Vigil, the Mozzie, and the Mute, of course. The Drone Denial Trio, as any good Clubhouse roam has. And they've even got the Thunderbird, so if these roamers get a little softened up, they can fall back to the Bastion of the Heels. Maybe even have Young Alec join them. He is a 3-speed with a rifle, with an assault rifle, after all. And it seems as if One Shot do indeed want to fully clear this.
And I'm honestly a big fan that Elyssar actually opting to go for the roam game now, because really they could have won that round just based off of the time management. But one thing that should surely swing this round in their favor, at least for now, has got to be Kento winning that first gunfight. Kilo already gone, leaving just the hard breach left here for Swaelin. Thankfully, there's a trade because Slippery has already dropped into Logi, and he's there. Right place, right time. So we're back in the 4 versus 4, but still wasting a minute off the board immediately and still killing someone as impactful as Kilo. It's definitely something better than nothing, as always.
My only concern is that, because this is a heavy roam, then a lot of that hard breaching isn't necessary, so that, Kilo's death might not matter a whole lot, and especially with Inrio dead, One Shot now have that man advantage, and I mean, there's a whole minute 35 left. They've got a decent amount of time to play with. Swaelin's drone, though, I don't know if it saw Giddy. Giddy is tucked in a pretty tight corner, and it looked like the drone just hopped off rafters without checking the door. So Giddy may have just gotten misdroned. Now, the play, if he's going to make one, has to come very soon. But it could win the round, especially now that Young Alec gets the C4 kill on Slippery, denying so much of that vertical presence. No breaching charges on One Shot whatsoever, but the hatch is open. So even though the vert hasn't been fully played out, there's still not a lot of opportunity for the defenders to play there.
50 seconds on the board. We've got a couple of drones left for One Shot. They can gather some last-second information. They do have to worry about Vivid, though, still having those toxic smokes. but still having plenty of this pressure on the top floor and actually gathering some information via the concussive blast that someone's playing rather close in church to have for that drop down actually through the kitchen hatch that could actually tailor how One Shot want to push this in the final 30 seconds. They're prepared for that first angle, but now that Young Alec is gone inside of the back of Big Box, that's a huge net buff there for One Shot. Giddy though, beautiful angle. NVK is gone. Yeah, with the SMG-11, a masterful shot landed by Giddy on such an important round that equalizes things once again and really tightens the hands of One Shot.
C4 still in the pocket of Giddy as well, but Vivid is out of gas. Drop comes in from Swaylin. No one's watching it, and in comes Subarctic by AKs, but Vivid, he's got the cover. What a play! Down long, saving his teammate's life and denying that planter. Charles Vivid makes the play and keeps his team in it.
And again, it's that process of elimination we've seen a couple times in this matchup, Crow. We knew someone was hopping in through dirt, and the other one had to be on the kitchen hatch, so Vivid got aggressive. He held the crossfire from his team all the way down through main hall, shockingly enough, despite the fact he had the SMG-11, but he just simply hits those. He gets the double kill, and Elyssar will still hold on for another round longer. Now heading up into CCTV and Cash Room, this has been a much better sight for them, do not get me wrong, but I feel like the problems that we saw that gave One Shot the loss were really more in their ball game in comparison to how well we saw Elyssar play in those final 30 seconds. If we had better management, in terms of what utility was left on the board for One Shot, they could have potentially catered how they wanted to play in those final 40 seconds to better counteract that, but they still went for the hard default. They didn't get aggressive towards the end of that round, and instead were just trying to hold those passive angles to let the plant go down, but again, because we had a nitro cell and plenty of toxic smoke left on the board, it was completely shut down by Elyssar.
Yeah, a lot of indirect stuff happening, or indirect kills and indirect denial happening from Elyssar. And I mean, not only Vivid, Giddy also hitting some beautiful shot, a beautiful shot with that SMG-11 right through the hatch. There is a reason why prone peeking the kitchen hatch is very dangerous, and you saw it fully on display there. I mean, prone peeking anything in this game is pretty dangerous because a lot of times, whoever you're peeking will be able to see your shoulder slash the side of your head, slash even like your arm or your elbow before you get around the corner. And that hatch is one of the many examples of it being not favorable to the attacker peeking. So 2 rounds now separate us from OT. But One Shot have not had less than a 2-round streak since that lone church win we saw 2 rounds ago. I mean, every other round, you know, the 5 before that, were in a row. So I don't know if those 2 spread out wins from Elyssar are enough to stump One Shot's momentum. You know, we'll see in the coming couple rounds, but you know, One Shot are known for being a pretty mentally sound makes it sound like other people are insane. They have good mental fortitude. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
They are they're a very good team in terms of not getting chalked, I guess is a good way to put it. Ooh, and there goes Inrio.
All right.
Alrighty then, just running out in the middle of the open after getting droned out. Funny enough, Inrio almost lost that gunfight in the beginning of the last time we saw CCTV in play, and this time he'll just outright lose it against Slippery. No argument against that, as they had his full location, and he just ran into them, giving the kill for free. So One Shot starting in a much better manner than what we saw last time, and they're still in the exact same position pretty much that they were last time we saw the site, except again, they've got the opening advantage already, and they are still just looking to do the exact same thing we saw, but even in an even better light from last time.
Yeah, not only did they have the man advantage, but remember, they didn't get the main breach open until like 30 seconds left, then went for garage,
right,
cleared it out in like 5 seconds, and it still came down to a 2v2. So what can One Shot do now that they have all this time with the breach open? They're still not going for garage quite yet, which is questionable to me, and that jump in is not going to work. Everybody from One Shot flips the switch and then dies. And now it's just Kilo. You know what that reminded me of?
What?
You were in Castiel at this point. Do you remember the Nocturnes rush?
Oh, yeah. What was it, the theme park one?
No, the Nocturnes rush on Clubhouse, where they committed suicide with an exothermic charge and then all died in the bathroom hallway. That's what that reminded me of. They were like, okay, we got the breach open. We have so much time. Let's rush. And then, I mean, Slip already got traded back. Swaylin on Hibana decided he was going to hop through CC window. Bandit just killed him. Like 2 people tried to just shove themselves through the breach. There was no control established whatsoever. One Shot had like lounge and the breach, and we're like, yeah, that's enough.
Don't get me wrong, having a bit of aggression is never a bad thing, Harrison, but I feel like they just kind of jumped the gun. They didn't even clear out Raptors, for Christ's sake, yet they had somebody just hopping in through CCTV window. Probably not the best idea. And again, still tons of denial, tons of players here for Elyssar. It was, what, a 4v4 when they went for that commit, and they just ran into several crossfires. Yeah, not the best idea, probably either on paper or even an execute, because the only thing you had going for you there was you maybe had a small element of surprise of having Swaylin hop in through CC window. But it looked like the Bandit of Giddy was very well prepared for that. He immediately killed him, found another, and almost 3 overall, just sitting in the middle of CCTV as Bandit. So, I mean, that play just completely floundered. And once again, One Shot, they are giving golden opportunities to have Elyssar bring them to overtime and not have this end out in regulation.
Yeah, that was a weird one. You can also, I think I should also edit what I said. When I say a site rush, it sounds more like it was in the beginning of the round. I guess it was kind of late. I guess a more apt descriptor would be like a blitz, a site blitz, because that makes it sound like the attack itself was swift, not the point at which it was in the round. But
right,
we are going to Jim after that digression, and okay, this time, if everyone would turn their attention to the top right corner of the screen, Elyssar have a reinforcement in pocket. So, if Giddy ends up bandit tricking this, I better see a reinforcement on bathroom. I'm begging. Never mind, they have someone reinforce something.
Well,
all right, well,
looks like
bathroom's staying open again, I guess.
It looks like Elyssar is not going to make your dreams come true. And One Shot, I had a small feeling that we're going to get that joke, but still funny. But I thought for a second there we might have had One Shot go sort of like aggressive play once again, maybe aggressively swinging through gym / weight room window. But no, I mean, more or less this is used just to maybe try to break the bandit batteries in a much more efficient way. But you can still throw grenades through the drone hole. You just have to get that placement almost perfect. There's a my magnet to catch it. And I don't think the bandit battery, oh no, it is. It was close enough. Is Giddy going to commit to this? Oh, I'll commit to it, but it's the wrong wall.
The wrong side.
He was going to get the wall open for free, basically.
No.
Oh, that's tragic for Giddy, man.
That is a shame. I mean, not wanting to be next to the drone hole, certainly understandable. Most people also breach towards, the center of the wall and overlap. So, again, also understandable. So, really unlucky from Giddy because that was free. I mean, he could have just tricked it. That castle barricade is still there. There was no nade being cooked because Slippery is out. So, a little sad for Giddy there. But if you're a one-shot fan, let's go. They got the wall open much faster. No bandit trick to worry about. The bathroom is still open. There's no Wamidis to stop that nade from going in and destroying the castle barricade, which I think it did. We have just as little sound as you do because that is on the game side. It did end up getting that castle barricade. Nade goes in. It will also dispatch the bulletproof cam. So significantly less info going into this round for Elyssar as well because they have no Valkyrie.
One Shot really in a prime position to get this bag and hopefully get this out in regulation for all the One Shot fans in chat, but they still need to go and work for this kill. I mean, they are in good position to do that, and Slippery just barely misses out on a golden moment to get that first one. Thankfully for the Elyssar players, they will remain all alive. 40 seconds left, and Inrio's still in red, matter of fact. I'm actually quite shocked we didn't catch this until now. He's been holding on in this one position for such a long time, and honestly, if he's able to find a kill before eventually falling back, this could be huge for Elyssar.
Yeah, if he kills that Hibana, there is no need to worry about cash anymore, but the stun allows him through. Slippery gets one kill, but a TK. Luckily, Kilo will get another. Swaylin comes in through Khan, and this match is over. Inrio looks the wrong way, and Inrio evading the flash, letting Swaylin slip through, ends up causing them to lose 2, maybe even 3 bodies. and Elyssar lose their second game in a row. One Shot rip first place away from them.
And that was, in general, a much better blitz, as you would call it, Harrison, by One Shot. They had information. They were a little short on time, don't get me wrong, but they were all in the right places to do their job. And honestly, I think because they really had a small element of surprise against Elyssar, they weren't fully ready for that full amount of aggression. I think it kind of forced the communication game to be rather weak for Elyssar in those dying moments, and that could have been one of the few saving graces there for One Shot, despite the fact they were just hitting their shots like crazy people.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a round where it looked like it could have gone either way, especially with the TK. I got really scared, but that blitz into sight. Slippery kept that ball rolling. I mean, he was in Logi. Maybe he even dropped the hatch. I mean, who knows at this point? I was too focused on Swaylin getting past Inrio and using that flashbang like a... I don't even know. That was big brain. That was incredible from Swaylin. Got into Khan, got the kill, and then Inrio was just looking the wrong way. So well done to One Shot all around. They have really cleaned up their act since game one. I remember seeing them against Nocturnes. They did not look good. I really worried about their new pickups, but the pieces are starting to fit together. And Elyssar kind of having the opposite effect. They looked brilliant in the starting of the season, but these last two games, not the best. Well, we're going to go head back to the analyst desk and see how they digest what could be the match of the day.
One Shot definitely going big indeed right when they needed it most. But there's one important round cookies that I want to talk about, and that was round 6. We saw Elyssar in basement. They had a 5v3 lead, okay? This is the moment where they could tie it up. They could come out of the first half with a 3-3 split. But instead, they choke that 5v3. And, you know, they may have ended up losing either way, but they might have been closer than 7-5. We might have seen an OT.
That round is a perfect example of why they call him Swaylin Ale. The guy just, NVK too, like that clutch you just witnessed on your screen, biblical play from NVK. He's finally back. The king has returned to his throne. But yeah, I mean, those two, I think definitely had some standout moments from One Shot. Allowed them to go on a huge run. And ultimately, they locked out Elyssar, and you know, that's concerning. Connor, game at a time, you said yesterday. We're talking about Elyssar critical point. They've lost 2 in a row. Where do they go from here?
Well, I mean, when you hit rock bottom, the only thing you can go is up, and hopefully, for their case, they do get to play Aerial Arise, who are struggling just as much, probably way more. So unless that's a trap game that Elyssar really fumble the bag on, hopefully that's their bounce back. But speaking of bounce backs, we got to talk about Kilo, CJ. He was playing phenomenally.
Yeah, that defensive half from Kilo especially. This dude's tossing C4s. You get a C4, you get a C4. You can get this work all day. Kilo gets some passionate comments directed his way. Kilo
Does.
Because he's a rock for this team. He's been that guy for a minute. Playing those roles, maybe you don't want to play on attack. Maybe he doesn't want to play. This is a guy who used to be an Ashman, and he's out here on Thermite and doing whatever. But Kilo, exceptional on that defensive half. Kept One Shot in a lot of those rounds. Like I said, C4s were biblical. And he's exactly what they needed to edge themselves over Elyssar.
He's definitely diversified his portfolio and what he can do for the team all around, whether he's shooting at you or he's blowing you up from underneath. But I do want to talk about Elyssar for just a moment. We have the stats pop up here. This is a team that they started to dig in, but it was too little too late. They had some impressive rounds in the end there, but I think that final round, Connor, kind of, I don't know, summed up the rest of their game, which was they kind of just fell apart.
Yeah, that round was looking so good, and it was when you have a 7-5 game on a map like Clubhouse, it always comes down to the little tiny details, small minute mistakes. They just get thrown under the magnifying glass and boom, they can just absolutely shatter your entire match. That's what happened with Elyssar. You wouldn't say that anybody really played bad, played poorly. You would hope and see that Kento and Enrio would be performing better, but even on the entry game, it's not necessarily horrible. You're not going to be like, oh man, I threw this game. It's not that bad. But when you just have small little minute mistakes, like missing 1 or 2 shots, and then with Clubhouse, just the ball gets rolling in one shot. They had that momentum. You see 5 rounds in a row on the back half of their defensive half, and they were able to carry that momentum into the good old attacking half, and that was ultimately the difference. You get a 4-2 split on defense. Kind of sort of the expected split nowadays is 3-3, and you can kind of just carry through and finish out a game.
Mm-hmm. Well, to finish this out, we are going to ask Swaylin a few questions, a fan favorite. We'll find out his thoughts on this matchup. Swaylin, congratulations on the win. This is big for you guys. You guys have taken down what was the early favorites in LSR.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, a big win. Now, Kilo himself, there's usually a lot of pressure on yourself to do well, but Kilo stepped up big, and I mean the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, definitely. Kilo did go pretty huge today. I think he had like 12 or like 14 or something like that. So he was making some really good calls. So that was really nice.
Now, and that's the thing too, is kind of to further that point. Obviously, we had early success from Kilo and things were going well, but then when you guys saw the pushback from LSR, it's important to note that it does take a village. And I felt that, I don't know if you felt the same way, that the rest of your team, including yourself, started to step up as LSR was giving you that pushback.
Yeah, we started to lose some rounds in a row, and then, we just kind of like took a step back, said, hey, let's calm down, we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves. Let's, really make sure that we're checking off like the little things, and we just close it out.
Is this now a statement from your team that you're the team to beat in this league at the moment?
Not really a statement from us, people can think what they want. We're just going to go week by week and take it game by game.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations. It's a huge win for you guys. So enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
You too.
Top dogs now, Connor? Is that what they are? Or is LSR still kind of holding that position in your mind?
No, I think One Shot have proven themselves that, hey, they can make one single mistake, but then bounce back. When you have a head-to-head game in regulation, you kind of remove those doubts, even if it's on a map like Clubhouse. One Shot on top right now.
Well, there you have it. We have a shift in who holds the throne at the moment. But we're going to flip to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we have Took the Kids taking on Nocturnes.